Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the new class that has been added to Global MapleStory, Sia Astelle. As you can see here, I am on my Sia. I leveled her a bit, I understand how she works, and I'm going to tell you how she works and whether or not it's worth to play her, what are the benefits of her, and everything that you need to know about the class. Of course, if you enjoy a video like this, definitely be sure to subscribe, pull up to the live stream so you could continue to see me play Sia, as she's definitely going to be one of my boss mules without a doubt. And of course, join the Discord so you can join the community as well and get help with anything you want on this game. So let's talk about Sia as a concept, right? When they introduced her, they said that she's going to have basically fusion skills, her own 6 job, and there's going to be 2 ways to play her, either like a quote-unquote easy way or a quote-unquote hard way. Now, what does that exactly mean? Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat that once you get to level 200, this character becomes much easier to play. While I was training her to 200 and reading her skills and trying to like figure out what she does, it seemed a little complicated because I'm like, wow, she has all of her regular skills that you could just spam, and then she has all of her fusion skills that have a cooldown and do specific things. So initially I was taken aback. I was like, oh, okay, like this is kind of a hard class to play. But once you get to 200, everything comes all together and it becomes way easier. So if you hear or something that Sia is hard to play, I'm gonna tell you that she's not really hard to play. I would say at most she's a medium level difficulty class, but to be honest with you, I think she's leaning more towards easy. So if you're scared to play her or you think like you're probably not gonna have fun on her, I would still recommend you guys to try her and learn her because it's definitely not as hard as you might think. Don't be like this guy wasting his time making his own food. You gotta get back to getting gains on MapleStory. If you spend an hour a day making yourself food, you would be missing out on around 4.5 billion messes a week and like 200 fragments. That's why I partnered up with Factor to give you guys fresh, never frozen gourmet meals straight to your door. I've tried it out myself and the food is unironically good and takes only 2 minutes to be ready. My community loves it too. So stop being dumb and wasting all your messos and get Factor using my link below to get 50% off your first box and free shipping. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, and thank you Factor for sponsoring, and enjoy the rest of the video. So let me give you the concept of this class basically. So you could even look at it through my key bindings, right? So these first 3 skills, these are basically skills that you can use to create combos with. And whenever you create a combo, it uses one of these bottom skills, right? One of these summons. That's the gist of her, is you use certain skills to summon other skills, but that's not how you exactly play her all the time necessarily, unless maybe you are a main and you're Superman Maxi. I just want to give you like an overview, basic understanding of this class. So as you level up and you get your first, second, third, fourth job, you're going to get a lot of these marking skills. That's what they're called, marking skills that allow you to create constellations. So you have marking skills and you have constellations. The marking skills like Ray, for example, or Boom, for example, when you use them, they go on the constellation. So I'm going to press Boom, right? Enhanced Boom 1. There you go. You can see that there's a mark here on the constellation. But if I press Ray, there's going to be a different mark. It's a different shape. And if I press Pull, there's going to be another different shape. And if I press Link, there's going to be another different shape. And then it resets back to 0. So all of these have different combinations. And you can see there's a million different combinations. Now this looks really scary because it is scary, to be honest with you. Like, whoa, I got to memorize 12 combinations? You don't. We'll get to that later. But this is just to show you how this class conceptually works. You use the marking skills and then it uses a constellation skill. So for example, it says this one here, if I use my skill Ray 4 times, it's going to use Antares, which is one of the constellation skills. So I'm going to press it one more time and boom, Antares came out by himself and he's just like this summon that does damage in this area, right? Whereas another skill, if I use Boom 4 times, he'll summon Algol. So I'll use Boom 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then boom, Algol comes out, this lizard, and then he does whatever he does, right? So that's how it works. You use the marking skills and it makes constellation skills. Now you can also just use the constellation skills themselves. Like instead of pressing Boom 4 times, I could just press Algol and then he'll come out. And then he has a cooldown. So what's the point of using the marking skills to use the constellation skills if I could just use these skills outright? Well, the point is, if you hover over the skill, you're going to see in orange right at the bottom, Celogram Fusion, Lizard duration plus 18 seconds. Celogram Fusion, Rabbit Hole duration plus 8 seconds. Celogram Fusion plus 2 blades. Celogram Fusion, invincibility duration plus 1 second, and so on. Celogram Fusion, explosion count plus 4, and so on, right? So the whole point is, if you use these skills via the combo, like via the recipe, basically, you will get a bonus effect. So you might think like, okay, well, then the class is kind of hard because I always have to like make sure that I'm using every single one of my skills with the correct formula, right? Now, that's where the 5th job comes in. Once you get 5th job, you get a skill called Shine. And this skill Shine, it says Celogram Fusion effects will always activate upon completing a constellation skill for a certain amount of time. So basically what this skill Shine does, at max, it has a 1 minute cooldown. Every 1 minute, any of the constellation skills, even if you just manually press them, will have the bonus. So basically what that means is you don't really even have to do the combinations or the recipes, because in reality, every single time you burst, every minute, you're going to get the bonus effect by just pressing the skills themselves. And because this is a burst class, which I didn't mention yet, this is a burst class, a 1 minute cooldown burst class, as the 2 minute bigger burst and 1 minute mini burst. Both of these bursts have Shine. Turns out it's actually much easier to play than you might think. Now, the reason why I think the class is still like medium difficulty is because you have this other skill called Pull that has a 5-second cooldown. You have to remember to press this skill every 5 seconds because it actually does a lot of damage. So now we're talking about like optimizing damage here. You're essentially just holding down Empowered Ray. Like this is your main attacking skill, right? And your main attacking skill, naturally, because you're spamming it, is going to keep summoning Antares over and over and over again. So that's why I don't have Antares necessarily on a keybind, because as I'm attacking, I'm going to summon him. But you always have to remember to use Pull as well. So every 5 seconds. So you always have something to do on this class, which I like. I like that. Even though this is a much more of a burst class, you have something to do the entire time. It's not like you just do your burst and then you wait and then you do nothing. Like there's stuff that's always happening, so it feels good to play, in my opinion. The other thing that you could do, because you have a 1 minute burst cooldown, Algol, Vega, you can use them just off cooldown because they'll just come up by the time you have your burst. Algol is a summon that bounces around, and then Vega is just damage around you, right? So the optimal positioning for this class would be pretty close to a boss, because remember this skill Pull, the star that comes out, it's essentially right in front of me, and even your main attack skill isn't too large necessarily. And Antares also comes out right in front of you. So optimal positioning is like you want to be kind of close to a boss, which makes her a little bit more difficult to play, I'd say, because you can't just like outrange your target. You have to, most likely have to just teleport side to side, front and back of a boss. And obviously because you use Vega, it's going to have damage around you. So you have to be on top of the boss. Now, some other things about her that is like some basic information that you should know is she does have an iframe, right? So she has a 90-second cooldown iframe, but you're iframed for 2 seconds. And if you do it with the Celogram Fusion, you're iframed for an additional second. Iframe is very easy. You can use it midair as well, and it just keeps you iframed. Not only does it keep you iframed, it also reduces the damage you take for 20%, which is actually really, really good, because sometimes even if you don't get one shot by something, it's really good. Like sometimes you use the iframe to dodge something that is going to one shot you, but it only does 100% HP. Like for example, let's say you use your iframe to dodge Kalos dive, right? You want to use the iframe to dodge that. Then obviously you'll be immune, but let's say Kalos dives again within 12 seconds, you're also not going to die because you still have damage reduction after that. So it's pretty useful. It's almost as if like the iframe lasts for 12 seconds. Obviously, you're not iframe for 12 seconds, but damage reduction by 20% for an additional 12 seconds on top is very, very good. So it's a good like defensive tool on this class. Another thing is you have a bind, and I believe once the bind is max level, it's actually a 13-second duration bind. So it's a longer bind than almost every other class in the game, which is very, very useful. So it's actually pretty good having her in a party because she has a longer bind. She's a teleport class. She doesn't have a flash jump. She has an up jump. Her up jump is interesting though, because you can float down just like Explorer Mage, right? So Explorer Mage can float down. She also has a float, and the float lasts like a decent amount of time. It's not as long as Blink, but it is still pretty useful. She also has a heal that has a very low cooldown as well, restores 10% of max HP, which is very good. Like you just have a heal that just heals you for 10%. So along with the damage reduction, she has pretty decent like survivability in my opinion. Nothing too crazy, like she doesn't have a dash, she doesn't have like a ton of iframes or very high speed movement, but it's definitely pretty okay. Let's also talk about her Link skill, because her Link skill is really, really good. Tree of Stars, buff duration plus 10%, critical damage plus 3%. Now, this is pretty much a best in slot Link skill for bossing on, I'd say, almost every single class. And the link skill that you would most likely replace would be something like Kana link skill or Xenon link skill if you're using that, because the crit damage plus buff duration is really good. Even if the buff duration is only used for Angelic Buster link, it's still really good. And then her Legion block is percent abnormal damage. So what percent abnormal damage is it's just percent damage. So it's a really good Legion block. It's essentially just percent damage. Her inner ability, I happen to get extremely lucky. This is her perfect inner ability: attack speed, buff duration, boss damage. So that's what you want to look for as well. Very similar to Explorer Mage inner ability. Now, another question is, does she have any support buffs? No, she has no support, or very, very, very little support. It's essentially just nothing, like her just bind or whatever. Now, these are the correct hyperstats. You want to do the first 3 marking ones, the middle stellar one, and then the first appear one. Now, this buff over here, appear, is her biggest buff. It has a 2-minute cooldown. It literally gives her a lot of final damage. You have 10% final damage from here, and then when you buff it up, it's another 10% final damage. So it gives her 20% final damage, and it's affected by buff duration. So you really, really want this skill. It's super, super strong, and because she's a burst class, it's even better for her burst. Now that skill sequence is in the game, I want to show you guys her skill sequence. Basically, these are the 2 skill sequences. I learned this from watching Matt's video, which I'm going to have linked below, because his video is also very, very good at explaining Sia. But basically, you have your big burst and you have your mini burst. So I just named them Boom and Baby, because Boom is like, I'm going to do a big boom. And then Baby, because like, it's just like the baby burst. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little weird. But basically, I'll explain how this works for you. So you use this on your 2-minute burst and you use this on your 1-minute burst, right? Now you have to make sure that you use the shine skill before you do any of these, because the shine skill will make it so that all of your constellation skills all have the bonus effect. So you want to press shine and then you press your skill sequence, whether it's the 1-minute cooldown or the 2-minute cooldown. So basically the skill sequence just uses all your buffs. It's very, very simple. So you have Grandest Goddess Blessing, which gives you a ton of stat. You have Observe, which gives you 10% damage. You have the Alchiba, which I call the Hat. Now the Hat basically gives you IED and magic attack, which is really good. And of course, since you're using shine before you use these skills, you're going to get the magic attack bonus. You have Bellatrix, which gives you even more damage, and Starlink attacks are even stronger, which is your main attacks essentially. You have Savior Circle, which gives you a bunch of stats and more lines on your skills, right? So this also makes your skills stronger. You have Appear, of course, which you want towards the end of your skill sequence because this is your biggest buff. And then you have Capella, which gives you crit damage, critical rate, and even more crit damage. Just gives you like a ton of crit damage, right? So these are your big buffs, but of course you want to use it before shine. And then for your 1-minute burst, you use the Hat. I just like calling it the Hat because it gives you a funny hat. Bellatrix, of course, 1-minute cooldown, and Capella. So you basically just use the 1-minute cooldowns. And I'll show you what her burst looks like. So remember, her DPS is essentially just using Empowered Ray, right? You're just holding this skill down and using Pull off cooldown. You mob with Boom. So if you're thinking like, oh, what do I do with Boom? You mob with Boom. The reason why you mob with Boom is because the lizard, Algol, he is really, really good for mobbing. I'll show you guys before we continue this burst demonstration. So you'll see the lizard, right? You see he like dashes around and just does a lot of damage, right? And then you use Boom to mob. Boom is essentially like Bishop's Big Bang, if you know what that is. It's just like an AoE around you, and it's going to constantly resummon Algol. I would say the mobbing of this class is definitely the worst part of it, like by far. Like if there's anything this class lacks, it's mobbing. Like I would say if there was one thing that should be better, it's definitely the mobbing. Either make Boom's hitbox bigger or buff Algol or something. I'd say make Boom's hitbox a lot bigger. I think that would be the best thing to do with it. So anyways, let's continue talking about the burst, right? So the most important thing, like I mentioned before, is you want to keep holding down Ray, and it's going to keep summoning out Antares, right? And then you want to use Pull off cooldown. But something that's very, very important about the burst, and this is what's going to make or break the difference between a good Sia Astelle and a bad Sia Astelle, is you want to use Shine when you have nothing here. You don't want to use Shine when you have one of these or 2 or 3 or anything. You only want to use Shine when you have nothing. The reason why you want to use Shine when you have nothing is you have another one of your burst skills here called Sadal Sood, which is the Hourglass. Now, Sadal Sood's activation is Shine. Like Shine itself activates Sadal Sood, so you have to use Shine alone to activate Sadal Sood. Now, the reason why I have Sadal Sood on a keybind is because in case I ever forget to use Shine while there's nothing in the constellation, then I'll just manually put down Settle Soothe, right? So I'll show you what the burst looks like. So you use Shine, right, with nothing, and then you just spam put down all your summons. Like, it's literally just as simple. So you put Algol, Vega, Izar, Canopus, and Sirius. You put all of these guys down after you use Shine, and then sequence. Shine, 2-minute burst, and then put all your summons down. So I'm just gonna be like attacking, right? Boom, Antares is down. Press Shine, right? Press my skills, it activates all of them, and then I put down all of my summons, and then I keep attacking, right? And obviously put down pull off cooldown, and this is your burst. This is what you do for your burst, and you keep going. Like, that's literally it. That's your whole burst. So it's actually pretty simple to do. The main thing you have to remember to do is just press Shine alone. Like, make sure you're pressing Shine when there's nothing on the constellation. And you can see these summons last a pretty long time. Like, it's pretty good. And then once you're on your 1-minute burst, if you have Shine at max level, it will have a 1-minute cooldown. You use Shine again when you have nothing, and then put down your summons again after you use the sequence, of course. And you just keep repeating that while holding down Ray and using pull off cooldown. All of your summons have a 1-minute cooldown except for Settle Soothe. So the rest of your summons are really easy to use. So I'm just going to do my burst again, right? On the 1-minute cooldown, I'm going to press Shine, and then I'm going to press the smaller sequence and put down all of my summons. And there you go. And now I'm bursting again on the 1-minute burst. And that's literally how you play her. Obviously, Sadal Melik is the iframe and Link is the heal. So you use those as just support skills whenever you want. And then you could use your bind on every single 2-minute burst. Now, as for our 5th job skills, Shine, we know about it. Settle Soothe is one of your summons. Save your circles a buff. And Sirius is another one of your summons, right? But I wanted to give you like an understanding of this class. Like, not just necessarily go over every single one skill. I felt like it's better to explain her as a whole package rather than each skill individually, because once you understand how all the skills work together, it makes the class a lot easier to understand, in my opinion. In terms of boost notes, I'm gonna have it on the screen. It's just like recommendation from the Sia Astelle Discord, which you should also join. I'm gonna have that link down below as well. But yeah, she has a ton of boost nodes. If you open like a lot of nodes, like let's say you get 300 nodes from the event, you're probably gonna get most of them just naturally from opening the nodes. But I had to craft 2 of them. And it is slightly unoptimal to craft because it costs a lot more, but it's really good mentally because now I just have all my trios done and I never have to think about it again. You know what I mean? Now her link skill goes to level 3. So I would say you should play her until level 210 at a bare minimum, everyone across the board. So you get the Legion block and you get the link skill level 3 because her link skill is really good. But now begs a question, like, do you want to play her as a boss meal? Should you main her? Is it worth doing any of that? Now, in my opinion, just like any other class that's not in the Korean version of the game, there's always a risk of maining a class that's non-Korean. Now, what does that mean? Maybe this is the first time you're hearing that. Essentially, there are some classes in this game that don't exist on the Korean version of the game. The Korean version of the game is the main game. They have most of the support. The developers are there, all that type of stuff, right? So those classes that exist in that game generally get their bugs fixed faster. They get better balance updates, stuff like that. Historically, that's just how it's always been. Now, I myself have been maining a non-Korean class for almost 10 years now. I main Hayato, right? And I could tell you in all of my experience, there's some patches where we're up so much and we feel like the best class in the game. And then there's some patches where you're like completely dog shit. So it might be the same thing with Sia at some point in the future. If you really like her though, regardless of anything, you should play her. I'm going to play her anyways because I think she's really cool and I think she's fun. But I do want to give that warning out there. If you want something as like quote unquote stable or safe as possible, then probably you shouldn't main her. But if you just want to play her and have fun with her, then you should play her. The other thing is she is a burst class. She's a 2-minute burst class with a 1-minute burst as well. Now she does have something to do every 5 seconds by spamming pull, right? And she does have Algol and Vega that have really low cooldowns as well. So she's not the same as other burst classes like Arc or Night Lord, for example, where it's like boring as hell after their burst and it just doesn't feel good. In my opinion, she still feels good to play. Now, is she actually good though? Like, does she do anything? Is she trash? Like, what's going on with her class right now? Turns out she's actually really freaking strong. Like, one of the strongest classes in the whole game. Like, I'd say she's overpowered right now. Like, straight up. I think she's actually pretty overpowered. To be honest with you, like, it's crazy. Like, she's very, very strong. I've been seeing some insane clears being posted. I'm gonna buff up here and do Magnus, right? I'm just gonna show you Magnus. Why did I even buff up? I'm gonna do it in practice, but anyways, I'm dumb. And I'm gonna show you, like, she does a lot of freaking damage. So I'm going to use all my buffs, right, in a practice mode run. And she does a lot of damage. Like, her burst is really, really strong. So let's enter Magnus. And I'm going to do my burst just like I said I would. So I'm going to press Shine. I'm going to press my burst cooldown. I'm gonna bind. I'm gonna put down all my summons, right? And I'm gonna hold down Ray while pressing pull off cooldown. Now, to be honest with you, this might not seem like a lot of damage, right? But if you were to compare this to any other class at the same spec with the same nodes or anything, I promise you her burst is probably going to be stronger. Like, her burst is really, really good given everything that's going on. Now, I would say it's probably better for me to put Antares on a key as well, because if the boss moves around a lot and Antares doesn't hit it, then I'm going to be in some trouble, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to hit the boss. Ray, the main attack skill, doesn't have a huge vertical hitbox, so if the boss goes up in the air, you could also have trouble with that too. But you'll notice now that my burst is gone, my damage just fell off a cliff, right? So she very much is a burst class, like without a doubt. And I'm going to do my 1 minute burst here. I'm going to make sure that there's nothing in the constellation. Press shine, press the skill sequence, put down my summons again. Ouchie. Now you see, I just got saved by the damage reduction here. That ball was supposed to kill me. So once this class gets like a ring of restraint, for example, it's going to be even more broken. Really good iframe there. And then I have the hat on, so it gives me a ton of IED too. But yeah, you can see the 2 minute burst did way more than the 1 minute burst. Obviously, my DPS is nowhere near as like fat as my burst, right? But I was still able to kill this guy pretty quick. Given that I don't have really much high level nodes, my gear's at 860 mil, or 860k, not mil, sorry. And I'm using all the practice buffs, right? I was able to kill it within less than 2 minutes, right? Like just with my 2 minute burst and my 1 minute burst, a little bit of DPS, and I killed it. So that's actually pretty good. Now, I am excited to see what the really strong Sias are going to post in the future. People are posting some crazy clear times on this class, which is good to see. Like, it's good that she's strong. I would say her biggest weakness is her mobbing, though. Anyways, obviously, if you have any questions about Sia, leave a comment down below. Of course, join the Sia Discord, too, because they have a whole community with that they could probably answer stuff even better than I can. But yeah, all in all, I think she's really good. I definitely think she's worth playing. I think she's super strong right now. You should at least play her 210 for the link skill. And then if you want to make her a boss meal or a main, I think it's fine. I honestly think it's perfectly fine to do that. I think she's going to be a good Legion champ if you're thinking like that too. And I'm actually very happy to see her in the game. Obviously, you know, let's talk about the elephant in the room. There were so many problems with her launch so far, and there's probably going to be problems in the future. But I am still optimistic. I think it is going to get cranked out, and she'll just be functioning like normal. Because on release, like, if you're watching this video in the future, man, bro, there's so many things that were bugged about her. Like, she would just, like, DC you for playing her. But, yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you guys so much. Let me know what type of videos you want to see next. And I hope you have a wonderful day. See ya. Shout out to my members, Blazefire, Shooms, Shagad, Ravi Espa, Koga, Skittles, Dante Victory, CK, Jay, Kyle, Vampiric X, Fresh and Juicy, Assassin, Henzo, Henrique, and Kelvin. I appreciate you guys so much, and thank you everybody who submitted fan art. You can always submit it in the Discord, and it'll be put at the end of every video. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.